right, well, good morning, good morning. If you want to make your way on up here, we're going to go ahead and get started. And Happy New Year, since this is our first one for 2016. So glad everybody's here. Hope you had a good time in the snow recently. Anybody go sledding? Any sledders out there? Way to go, way to go. All right, anybody build a snowman? Snowman? Yeah, all right. I've got 3 daughters, and they're all like 11, 9, and 6. So we've been having a big time in the snow. It's been fantastic. But, you know, I was thinking about just a new year, and I'm Jeff Simmons. I'm lead pastor here at Rolling Hills Community Church. Some of you may remember this as the old Georgia Boot Factory, but we bought it about 6 years ago and have renovated it, and it's just been great for us to do church here. But, you know, I was thinking this morning as I was just praying about the new year, the new opportunities before us, and this word came to me. It just says this. It's from Joshua 1:9. It says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And so I don't know what you're facing today. I don't know what the year looks like for you, but I just want to encourage you with that and just say, hey, be strong and courageous. It's going to be a great year. God's going to do great things. We're excited about the program today. I love Franklin tomorrow. They do an incredible job at the Mayor's Breakfast. We are blessed to have so many mayors with us today. And mayors, on behalf of the churches in your community, thank you. Thank you for all you do. And just know we pray for you, and we're just grateful for you and for your leadership. You make huge decisions all the time, and we're just grateful for the difference you make. I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth and to Shauna, and we've got a great program today. So thank you, guys.
Well, Happy New Year. How is everyone this morning? Good. We've got a great 2016 started, and Elizabeth and I are here today to get things started. And we want to first thank our presenting sponsor, Pinnacle Financial Partners, for their continued support. If someone is here from Pinnacle, would you stand so we can thank you properly? I see a few people. Thank you.
And I'd also like to thank Williamson Medical Center, Tennessee Equine Hospital, Williamson County Association of Realtors, and Andrews Cadillac for their sponsorship. Please give them a huge round of applause because we could not do this without them.
And then finally, if you have enjoyed your breakfast and your coffee, we want to thank Puckett's Grocery and Restaurant and Royal Cup Coffee for our breakfast and being our continued sponsor throughout the year and the rest of our programs. So thank you.
We're going to turn it over to Mindy now.
Great. Thank you so much to Shauna Jackson and Elizabeth Mefford, who are co-chairs of Breakfast with the Mayors. This is obviously a lot of planning goes into an event like this, and they've got a great committee that they oversee and work with. I want to first welcome everyone, but first want to just say the names of who we have with us today. Most of you in your seat found a guide with their bios on it, but we'll introduce them so you know who is speaking. And from my right, we have Franklin Mayor Ken Moore, Brentwood Mayor Regina Smithson, Fairview Mayor Patti Carroll, Nolensville Mayor Jimmy Alexander, Spring Hill Mayor Rick Graham, and Williamson County Mayor Rogers Anderson. They had to be the bookends, Ken and Rogers. Unfortunately, Thompson Station Mayor Corey Napier was called out of town yesterday and unable to be with us this morning. He did send Town Administrator Joe Constantini here today, so if you have some questions afterwards that are specific to Town of Spring Hill, of Thompson Station, you can talk with Joe, but this is a breakfast with the mayors, and so we are going to proceed with our mayors of our great Williamson County. What we want to do is we want to start by having an opening statement from each of you. Before this event began, we asked the mayors 3 different questions. What distinguishes your community from the other cities in Williamson County? Or what distinguishes Williamson County? What are the biggest issues facing our community, and what are the greatest needs? And so we'd like to ask each of you to take about 2 or 3 minutes and tell us what distinguishes your city in Williamson County and some of the issues and needs that you're facing. And we'll start with Franklin Mayor Ken Moore and just work our way down.
Oh, well, great, and good morning, everybody, and it is great fun to see everybody. Happy New Year, and I just want to tell you how much fun and what a pleasure it is to work with every single mayor here on the stage. We have great relationships and great communication going on with everybody. I'd like to next just mention our streets department and our environmental and sanitation engineering department, who responded so well during this snowstorm that we had. They worked very hard to get the roads open. They worked hard to pick up your trash, and I think they deserve a special thank you. Next time you see one, just tell them thank you. And they're probably not here this morning because they're out doing the work of the city. So we're getting ready to embark on a household survey, which is an important thing to help guide us with our strategic long-range planning and so on. We're right in the middle of an upgrade to our water plant, and we're getting ready very soon to take bids on our wastewater plant expansion and upgrade. This will be the largest single capital project that the City of Franklin has ever done. And we just opened the bids on Hillsborough Road Phase 2. We have a lot of rave reviews about Hillsborough Road Phase 1, and I know that there'll be inconveniences associated with Hillsborough Road Phase 2, but we look forward to getting that started. The past 2 years has been a very active time in the City of Franklin with $887 million worth of permitted development. We continue to look hard at transit. I'm on a number of different committees in the region, and particularly we're looking at traffic in Franklin, Williamson County, and how we can improve it. So that's just in a nutshell. I hope I didn't take too long.
Well, thank you, Mindy. I'd like to thank all the people that worked on this event and just say how much we appreciate coming together. I think that getting together and really getting to know the people that you work with in the county and in the different communities is so important to, like Ken said, have good relationships and put faces with titles, or, you know, to really get to know who you're working with. And Brentwood is, I think, quite unique in the way that it sits kind of as the spoke, in my opinion, of Williamson County at the north. Even though it's at the north end, we're just kind of jammed between a lot of towns, and we have nowhere to go. We are bordered by Franklin and Nolensville and Nashville, and so that makes it unique, especially with our 1 acre density that we have. And one of the things that we're really working on, of course, is traffic, and the city is working with the Metro. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, don't hold me to this, we're talking about maybe 65 different intersections that we're trying to coordinate with Metro. And Mike Harris, our traffic engineer, just came this past week and was telling us how Metro has now changed their equipment so it's in sync with Brentwood, and so that we can keep the lights synchronized so that the traffic will flow easier. And you, as all of us know, that growth is just running rampant, and people say, stop it, you know, stop the growth. Well, you can't stop property owners from building out their property the way it's zoned, and you don't want to do that. You want them to build it out. And the unique thing about Brentwood, one of the very unique things, is we don't have our water system and we don't have a sewer plant. So we're dependent on our infrastructure to buy our water and sell the sewer to different companies. I think the best thing about Brentwood is, in my opinion, is we've taken a lot of thought on how to plan it out to make sure it's not so overwhelming with traffic. But we're real excited about all the projects that's going on in Brentwood. And someone asked me in the back, said, how long have you been on the commission? And I said, 24 years. I think there were just 2 houses there whenever I'm, not really, it was about 10,000 people at that time, and we have 40,000 people now. So all of us are experiencing growth and how to deal with it, and I think with us working together, we can certainly make it the best it can be. Thank you, Mindy.
Hello, my name is Patti Carroll. I'm the mayor of Fairview. Just if y'all didn't remember that, I thought I would remind you. I am really blessed to be here. Thank you, Mindy, for the invitations, and both Mayor Moore and Anderson for sharing the stage, and the mayors for being up here with me. I really feel like we have a unique relationship that we have formed. I've only been here a year, so this has been kind of new for me, but everybody has just reached out and really taken me in, and we have just moved forward and just really thrilled. So I have to thank you for doing that and just being a mentor and guiding me. So with that being said, I also would like to thank the Fairview Street Department and all the street departments in Williamson County. I must say, people that travel to Nashville, we just did a great job, and we heard it all across. Because a lot of Fairview citizens do travel into Nashville and Franklin, and we just really did. So I did want to take a moment and, let everybody know that we're blessed to live in Williamson County. Fairview has a lot of great things going on. I know that a lot of you, for the first time, have noticed Fairview. And we've just kind of been pushed off. We are the jewel of Williamson County, and I know some might refer to us as a diamond in the rough, but we like to refer it as the jewel. We have a 700-acre nature park in the center of our town, which really makes us unique. We appeal to a lot of different people. You can still buy a lot of house for the money. You're 30 minutes from everywhere. If you want to be in a big city, you want to go shopping in Cool Springs, you want to go eat dinner in Franklin, you can still do that, but you have a rural setting. And one of the wonderful things about Fairview is we just have that unique small town feel. The people love each other. They're wonderful people, and I'm just blessed to serve them. We have so much going on with the pickup and just the economy changing. We've seen a lot of growth. We do have some stumbling blocks, just we don't own our own water and sewer, so we are having to deal with that. We have a lot of development, even though we do have that concern. We are improving our roads, but somebody said earlier about traffic issues. Well, Fairview doesn't have any traffic issues. No, Fairview has traffic issues because we are driving to Brentwood and Franklin. We're driving to Nashville. We've got to get there. So it's a main concern. Mr. Hall and I have really tried, the city manager, to make sure that we were at all the events. We're attending MPO. We're talking with Matt. We're doing the economic development. We're plugging in. That was my goal for this year when we sat down. We're going to let people see Fairview in a new light. We are Williamson County. We have so much to offer, and it's a wonderful community. Love to talk more about some of the things, but I think we're going to have an opportunity in a moment.
My time. I'm Jimmy Alexander. I'm the mayor of Nolensville, second term. We love our town. We have the what we consider the best town in Williamson County, and there's a lot of people that feel that way. One of the unique things about Nolensville is the proximity. You can be in Nashville just like that. You can be in Brentwood or Franklin. It's just a terrific location for a great small town. And it's a small town, but it's growing. We have, since 2000, our town has grown 244%. That is a terrific growing rate, and it continues. Now, we have a great town, and we don't have to go to Nashville for good restaurants. We have them right here in Nolensville now. If you ever get out to our town, stop by Town Hall, and I'll take you down, and we'll eat at Martin's. It's a really, really great place. We have a few problems. Like Patti has mentioned, we got traffic problems. We're working on them, and we've got contract out now for improvements to Sunset Road, and that will be happening pretty soon. Within the last year, we've hired a new town administrator, our first town administrator. We're proud of that. Thanks to Williamson County, we have a new high school, and watch out for the football team that comes out of there. And we just have a lot of good things going. I'm tickled to death. Again, I want to thank our police department and Public Works for doing such a super job with the last few days of weather that we've had. And I don't know what else to say about them other than I'm just really proud of them. So with that, I'll turn it over, and we'll just keep going.
Go. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rick Graham, Spring Hill Mayor. And just want to, again, like everybody here, this board, this group of people up here, the mayors, just excellent leadership. We get together a lot, we talk a lot, we work together well. The challenges that we all face is a regional issue. It's not a city by city. And if we don't work together, working separately in silos and islands will never take care of the issues that we've got in front of us. So it's very important that people on the stage do work well together to face these regional issues. As you can tell probably by my accent, I'm a Tennessee boy and born in Lawrence County, raised in Smyrna, and Spring Hill has changed a lot since I was a kid. And but we're a very unique community of very young people, and we attract somewhat of a unique demographic of young folks, and it's kind of a melting pot. And we're one of the fastest growing cities in the state, and we are roughly at 35,000 people now. We're doing a census as we speak, and that matches the population of Columbia. And we do sit on two-county line. We're around the line of two counties. And but if you can imagine that 35,000 people, about 75% of them live on the Williamson side. So we have 75% of our people living in 25% of our landmass. That leads me to, like a lot of us here, it's roads, infrastructure, traffic. When you have that kind of density into a small area, we're going to have traffic issues, and that's probably the biggest part of what we spend our time on working. We have something like 85 road projects going on right now, and as a part-time mayor, keeping up with those is very difficult, to say the least, but we have a great city staff. Victor Lade, our city administrator. We keep hiring. Our big emphasis is hiring the expertise and building up our staff. And that's one of our big issues. And like this weekend, we locked up our board at the Deer Run retreat just to work on priorities and those type of things and how we're going to fund them for this next year. But there's a lot more to Spring Hill than just the well-publicized traffic. Even though we're a melting pot, our city takes on a very friendly and welcoming community. We're a very low crime rate, which we keep putting resources back into to keep it that way. And we have a community where people, feel good about raising their children and putting down roots. We have over 50 churches for our families to choose to worship, and we have been, just in the last year, probably something like 11 different best of state and national rankings. Many of you remember that Saturn, put Spring Hill on the map, and GM is now thriving again. We're building 4 different engines: the Equinox, They're adding 1,800 new jobs right now to build a new Cadillac XT5. And if you read the paper last week, we have another vehicle coming, the GMC Acadia. So GM is really doing well, and with that, spinoffs. We've opened up two recently GM spinoffs, providing parts, a lot of that to the Cadillac in the last year. 800 jobs, that's most cities would, especially outside of this region, in other parts of the state would do backflips for something like that. So we're very blessed. And, our niche is affordable housing. There's no secret there. I think you all know that. But we're also blessed with the top-ranked school system in the state. All of us are, and that's just cannot be blessed enough in that regard. But our city is very ripe for retail and commercial industrial growth that I mentioned. But we're proud that our residents, we now enjoy a new movie theater and Jonathan's Grill and some of the things that folks up here have had for a long time. But we now have, like Jimmy was talking about, we now have multiple choices to dine and shop in Spring Hill. And again, I just want to say I'm very blessed with just some good leadership from my board of aldermen, good, strong city administrator, and the expertise that we've hired. And we just are continuing to just plan.
Mindy, thank you again, and to the sponsors who make this possible, and to the church here that opens up their door, we say thank you, all of us. And I hope all of you are taking note that with all this power of cities growing, when you have traffic problems, call the cities, don't call the county mayor. No, I'm just kidding. We all have our common denominator trying to fix those problems, and I, like Ken and several of the others that I mentioned, I want to say thanks to Eddie Hood, our highway superintendent, for this weekend's work. Late last night, yesterday afternoon, we were picking up additional truckloads of salt. We did go through some salt this weekend, and so thanks to those men and women, our emergency folks, our public safety, all of them. So I hope you understand, and I'm sorry Corey's not here to talk a little bit about our Thompson Station city, that all of us work together. We don't always agree. We do have issues that sometimes they are what they are, and you have to deal with them. But as a general community and a county, from Brentwood down to Spring Hill and Fairview all the way to Nolensville and those little cities in between called Franklin, the attitude is that all of us need to address these problems. Growth is going to continue to come here, and talking to Dr. Mike Looney, which I want to take a moment out. I oftentimes fail to do this, but if you're an elected official, a lot of us up here, we get the good and the bad, but elected officials really help us all. So if you're an elected official, if it's okay, Mindy, can I have them stand? School board, alderman, county commissioner, I know they're here. You can call them too. So I'm sure there'll be several questions that you'll want to ask us specifically, but our community is in good standing. Up on this stage, you have 3 AAA Standard & Poor's or Moody's Community, Brentwood, Franklin, and the county. That means a lot. If you're in the banking community, you know how important that is. We do borrow money for different projects, and we've got the best credit rating that you could possibly have throughout the nation. So to my counterparts, thank you for always being there, and thank you for trying to work through some of the issues that we have. It's all yours, Mindy.
Thank you so much, Rogers. It's good to be the big mayor, right? Because that's what he and Ken call each other, the big mayor and the little mayor. Or Ken, do you have another name for that? You can see they have a lot of fun together, huh? So
We've gone
glad-
from bookends.
to Big Mayor and Little Mayor. No, we're sorry about that. Obviously, every one of you are the mayors of the greatest city in Williamson County, apparently, too. That's good to know. We're glad to see that. A lot of you mentioned traffic, and obviously that is an issue that we're hearing a lot about, both locally and regionally. There are many efforts underway regionally right now to deal with and come up with a transportation and/or transit plan for the region. What do you feel are the biggest obstacles to success or implementing a regional plan for transportation and transit as we move forward? And each of you don't have to answer. You may answer if you wish, but Rogers, you've taken transportation really as a topic for this year, as well as Ken, but tell us about regionally what's afoot and what you feel needs to happen for there to be a plan adopted.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I think all of the cities are addressing their individual transportation issues as their infrastructure and their boards are working towards. Oftentimes, where the regional concept comes in, and in the fall we've had a transportation summit. Matt Largent, through the economic development, is kind of taking that by the arm and extending that out a little bit further. I understand Franklin tomorrow is also doing some of that. But when you go up to about 40,000 feet and you look down, there's a lot of issues out there that are needed to be in place for proper transportation to function in your communities. Signalization, road widenings, transit issues. The TMA does an adequate job of that in the Franklin area, but they don't extend outside the city limits of Franklin. The county is doing what we can because we do have a county tax on the unincorporated portion of our tax bill, but that money can only be used out in the unincorporated area. So we've just commissioned an engineering firm to look at 4 roads and come back to us and tell us on those unincorporated roads that run right into the cities, whether it's Brentwood or Franklin or some of the other areas, Arnold Road, Sneed Road. These are roads that all connect back either to our cities or some state route roads. Tell us what we need to do to help this traffic flow. We're looking at our schools. I know they're looking at different starting times. How can we get children to ride the yellow buses more? Could we put Wi-Fi on them? Do we need to put seat belts on them? What are all the different avenues that it would encourage people? Now, I seriously doubt you're going to get any 11th and 12th grade boys and girls wanting to ride the yellow school bus. I'm practical enough to remember that. But at the same time, I was at a school down in off Buckner Road, down in that area, and I was asking us 4 senior classes, 20, 25 kids per class, was there anything we could do to help you ride the school bus? And the answer was no. And one of the young ladies, very optimistic, said, "There is nothing you will do to make me ever want to ride that yellow bus." So that day we had 80 different cars driving to school, hunting for parking places, trying to jockey, and you'll see this over in Nolensville here come November, Mayor, that all of those seniors, you won't have any seniors, but in a few years you'll have seniors looking for a place to park. But all of that creates that traffic issue that we call congestion. So we're doing a lot of things. We're looking at outside the box, trying to find solutions, Mindy, and I know the cities are doing the same thing, but we are working together on those regional issues.
You have anything, Mayor Moore?
Sure. Well, I think the bottom line issue is funding. There's lots of studies going on. I'm on 7 different study committees, from locally here in the county to involving the entire region. Actually 8, I just thought of an 8th one. And all of us are working to develop some short-term solutions, intermediate solutions, and long-term solutions. You may have just seen the Regional Transit Authority, which we're a member of, just released some short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals. I frequently say, if we had a bullet train today, it would fail. And the reason it would fail is because we don't have the connectivity on each end that we need. So with the Cool Spring Circulator study, we're specifically addressing that. But still the bottom line, long range, is funding. Congress has passed a 5-year transportation bill. That's good. We're still looking for sustainable funding for transportation projects in the state of Tennessee. When I say sustainable, I don't know what the revenue source is. Many people throw out gasoline, some people talk about miles traveled, some talk about vehicle registration fees. So that's yet to be determined. But the other thing, as we continue to move through these short-term, intermediate, and get to the long-term goals, which are solutions that other cities have focused on, we're going to have to consider a dedicated source of funding at some point in time. Tonight at the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, we're going to be looking at a resolution that encourages our Tennessee General Assembly to consider sustainable funding for transportation in Tennessee. That same resolution also emphasizes the importance of us locally be able to continue to have input as far as what those projects are. And then lastly, it'll stipulate that as the state identifies that long-term funding source, that we should have an option locally through a resolution to fund some of those projects that we won't have enough state money or federal money. That's the way we dig out and continue to move forward economically as a city, as a county, as a region, is making sure that we can continue to move everybody around and everybody's not stuck in gridlock, and that's where we're headed if we do not do anything.
You know, the interesting thing is, I think what has happened in the last couple of years, obviously, is the growth that we've had. It has really brought to the forefront the major traffic issues that we all have, and we are in this together. We're in it with Metro, and I think that's what's happening. We're having a regional conversation about this now. It's not just, I'll do my thing and I'm not worried about you. When you think of Brentwood, we have the state roads alone that run through Brentwood: Franklin Road, Moores Lane, Concord Road, Wilson Pike, and the interstate. And when you have about 20,000 people coming in 5 days a week to work and leaving out of Brentwood, and you have all of this major traffic coming through from other towns, you have to think of it in a regional way, or you're just going to be gridlocked from now on. And Ken, you're right, the funding is the problem, because, you know, we may have a state road widening of Franklin Road, and it gets on the schedule to be widened, and then the funding isn't there, or McHatch or what have you, and the funding isn't there. And so we have to come up with solutions to where we know when it's on that schedule to be widened and to help this traffic situation, that the funding will be there, that we can count on it. I mean, Brentwood has been so good to try to help the state to go and, let's say, get right-of-way or get the engineering study done to try to move us up on some of these projects. That Concord Road alone is just, you know, just jammed. And so we are really working on that together, the traffic studies, and like I said earlier, the signals being synchronized so that we can, as a region, move the traffic along. And I would like to thank Kirk Bednar is here, our city manager, and he really has been in the forefront to help push these traffic studies along. And I think that's what I've seen more in the last 3 or 4 years, all of us as communities coming together saying, we have got to get this as under control as we can. We'll always have traffic. You're going to always have 5 o'clock traffic. It's that football game scenario. You know, you go to UT and they can't build a parking lot big enough for the UT fans for that game, but 5 days a week it's not used. So you have to consider everything that goes into how to get traffic in and out as painless as we can.
Yeah. As we wait on funding, our state leaders and those in D.C. Are working on that, and it could be quite some time. So as that happens, our city, is taking the approach, kind of grab the bull by the horns, and invest in money, our general fund money, which the governor mentioned a while back in one of the transportation sessions. How this paradigm shift has gone over the decades. To where now the cities are having to spend a lot of amount of general fund money for road projects, even state roads, and that's what we're doing. And I know Thompson Station is partnering with us because we're looking at a new gateway. I mentioned that 75% of 35,000 people that are basically having to ride up Highway 31 until they can get on 840, and what we're looking at is a new gateway, new interstate interchange off Buckner Road. And if those of you that know the Alexander Farm, just so we can get a lot of our folks up and off the interstate in the mornings and the afternoon without having to get on 31 and travel through Thompson Station, not all of them. And because we have thousands of Columbia people that stay on 31, come right through Spring Hill, snowball into us, who snowballs into Franklin, who snowballs into Brentwood, and we all see what happens by the time we get to Brentwood. And so what we're doing, a lot of those 85 projects that we're working on, many of them is us putting our own dime into the widening of 31 and adding turning lanes, traffic signalization for pedestrians, anything we can do to speed it up and make it more effective.
The one thing we, as a group, and I appreciate working with all these people, and it's a problem that we all face, and we're in it together. The one thing we can't do is nothing, and we, in our own way, are working hard, discussing it every day, and trying to figure out exactly what to do. We've got on our plans now a bypass around the Nolensville Historic District. And within the next couple of weeks, I believe we will secure the right-of-way, which will help us with the priority with the state. So we're doing what we can. We got one road that funnels about 20,000 people a day into Brentwood, into Franklin, and we see that traffic every day. It's coming and going, and the road's operating at a level B, but if you're there in the morning, it's a level F, and or there in the afternoon. So we all have the same problems, and it's great that we're all of the same mind to work together to try to solve them. Thank you.
I can't go without being the only one to talk about this because we do have some real issues, and it's not just, as I said earlier, we travel. We're still that small, sleepy community where people are traveling to work, and we have our own issues. Come there anytime between 3 to 5, and you're going to wait. And we are a small community. There is only 2 ways in and out, and so we're blessed because we're at 440 and we have 840 and we have 96 and Highway 100 running through our community, but we have the potential and no offense, Rick, of becoming Spring Hill. As we grow, we have to be proactive and think, what can we do to improve our infrastructure? There's small things that we can do right now, widening Highway 100. We've been working with TDOT. There's some safety issues in my community where we just don't have completed sidewalks, and we are a rural community that use and walk daily the streets of Highway 100. So they're real concerns. I need bold leaders, not politicians. I need people that are not afraid to step out and do what's right. It's hard for citizens to sit back because I don't want my taxes raised. I don't want a gas tax. I don't want anything other kind of tax because I want to hold on to my money. But what we're doing is we're trying to come together and come up with solutions, and that's what we need. It's real easy to say I'm going to be proactive, but how are you going to fund it? It's real easy to say we need infrastructure, but how are you going to get it? That's the problem that we're faced with. Coming together as a county is going to be huge for us. It is tough conversations. I don't know the answer to the solution, but I know that if we do not have these conversations and the citizens don't put input of what they were willing to do to help us solve the problem, if state representatives and federal, don't have these real conversations, I want somebody to lead, and that's what I'm doing. So, I think that we need to put politics aside. 20 years from now, we need to be able to get around. And that's what I want to see. And I hope the citizens of our county realize that these are important conversations and open up to what the solutions could be.
Thank you, guys. Rogers, sounds like you all meet or talk. You talk regularly. Do you meet regularly? Because I know there's a mayor's caucus that works in the region. There's the MPO. There are other organizations. But as a county, do you all come together as the leadership? How does that work?
What we do is, Ken was saying 7 or 8 committees. Many of us are on those committees. We're meeting either on monthly or quarterly basis. The regional areas, we meet monthly to talk about those regional areas. For an example, just a couple of weeks ago, Brentwood, they host once a quarter for all the elected officials to come to town and talk about the issues and do it over in their municipal building there. They've been doing that for years. We're having all kinds of discussions, but all of these discussions do evolve around, as Patti said, leadership, but it also evolves around money, sustainable money. How do you do these things? Because roads and bridges and traffic lights, they're all very expensive. The MPOs and the RTAs, all of those are great organizations to be a part of, but ultimately our decisions have to be made at the local level. I think Williamson County and our cities will find solutions for these. I agree with Regina that at 5 o'clock you're not going to have all the traffic issues worked out, but we got to be able to get from point A to point B. Companies are still looking at our community to move into. There's a wonderful place to live. The quality of life is here, and I do believe our citizens expect us to find solutions for those, and we're getting there. It's better than what it was, but the amount of traffic and the amount of people moving in overshadows what little success you can have, and at the rate we're growing. But I'm confident we'll find those solutions, and how we pay for all of these, I'm not real sure about all that yet.
We've got about 15 minutes left, and if you've got a question, Elizabeth is going to come around, and we'll take those. I've got one, and Rogers, you get to take a break on this one. So, none of you serve full time in your role as mayor, except for County Mayor Rogers Anderson. Is that the right form of government for cities in Williamson County, or is it time for a change as the cities continue to grow in population and the demands on your time and the need for leadership is growing. So is it time to look at full-time mayors in some of the cities? So I'll just throw that out there. Who wants to tackle that one?
Well, I'll start. I guess I'll
Jim.
start. I'm a part-time mayor, I suppose. If you consider working 7 days a week part-time, that's exactly what I am. But I don't think our town is ready for a full-time mayor, especially since you got someone that's retired and can do it. And 3 or 4 years from now, that may not be the case. But for right now, it's working for us, and we'll continue that for a little while.
Okay, I'm going to jump on that one just because yes and yes. But here's the deal. I work 40-hour-a-week job, and I work a 40-hour-a-week job as a part-time mayor. So it's difficult for me. I don't have the luxury. I'm hoping to retire one day. I don't have the luxury right now. What I could do, if I could spend all my time focusing on the city, that would be great. But I do think there's something to be said about the checks and the balance of the way the system is set up. But if you ask me how many days, I would say yes. But, I just think it's timing issues. I think you need to be probably to a certain level. But I do feel like that is a discussion that needs to be had, because I think I'm blessed. I have a city manager that I work well with, but it's not always that situation, and for some cities. And I do think that, we need to take a look at it as a whole. But I do think, for the most part, that some days I would love to give my 80 hours a week all to the city of Fairview.
I think we're seeing a common theme here between the mayors, and generally 3 to 4 meetings a day with a full-time job on the side. And it gets in fact, this was even mentioned in that retreat we did this past weekend. I would never do this to take the place of the professional city administrator, because you never know what the next future mayors will be. And so you have to keep the full-time professional city administrator. And I know Victor and I divide and conquer. He's at another meeting right now working on something, and we do that a lot. And I know he and I work well together, and we do well, but you never know the future. You never know what future mayors will fill these roles, and that gets scary. And it's always a political thing, too, with our leadership, city leaderships. And I would never go out and advocate it, because it just sounds so self-serving. And but if they chose to move that direction, I'm going to abstain. But I could see there'd be a lot of benefits for Spring Hill in this regard, but it does come with a lot of things that would have to be discussed.
I love Brentwood's form of government, the city manager form of government. I'm equal to the other commissioners. The only difference is I run the meetings and might sign a few papers more than they do. But other than that, I like the fact that I'm an equal to my fellow commissioners, and Kurt Bednar, our city manager, is being a city manager form of government. He has his hands on the pulse of the employees and the city going on. It's not that we're removed, it's just that they report to him. They don't report to me or the other commissioners. And I really do like that. I think that keeps a really good balance. I've never had a problem with the way Brentwood is run, and I think it runs really smooth because of that. It's not, and Ken, I know Franklin is a different form of government, and I personally would not want all the responsibility you have as far as all the things that go with that that form of government. We've looked into it. In fact, I think once upon a time, Brentwood voted on whether they wanted to change it, and so I like it the way it is.
Well, I can weigh in here, and I certainly enjoy, I've got a mic on, so I certainly enjoy the fact that we have a great city administrator that the board delegates the duty to run the city and run it efficiently and build his team. You know, I don't know what the answer is. I spent a lot of hours, just like all the other mayors, working as a mayor, but I think that every one of us has a different style as far as how we run our role, and how do you, what does a full-time mayor do? I guess he does what each one of us does every day, but is the next mayor going to do the same thing? I don't know. I think it's a complicated issue. I'm pretty happy where I'm at right now. We've got a great city administrator, great staff. We're very blessed here in Franklin.
Great. Most of you have also, when I sent out your questions, most of you also talked about economic development as a wish and a hope continued in all of the cities, but also the issue of housing and affordable housing for a trained workforce. Is it just the issue of affordable and workforce housing, or is it about housing and a changing demographic as we as a county are growing older? Because our demographic data does show we're growing older and people want to age in place. Are those options available in Williamson County to age in place? So is the issue just about affordable and workforce housing, or is it a larger issue about land use and housing stock and styles?
You made a great point about land use, and I think many of the problems that we're seeing now, such as the traffic, is because the way we've developed our communities. We haven't developed them with concentrated density. We've let them sprawl out. We've developed communities where or subdivisions and developments where there are no services. So the only choice you have is to get in your car to go get groceries or go to the doctor or whatever. Housing is a very complicated issue. We're looking at it in many different ways in the city of Franklin with our housing commission, the housing summits that we've held. There is no one solution to fix it. It's a complicated thing. I applaud the Franklin Housing Authority, which is using some unique initiatives to build more affordable housing. I applaud those nonprofits that are building affordable and workforce housing in our community. We continue to look for those solutions, but long term, you know, the people that drive to Franklin to work in our grocery stores, our restaurants, our mall, there's going to be a point in time where it's easier for them to stay in Murfreesboro or wherever they're coming from, because they'll have the same opportunity there. So then we're in a pickle as far as where do we get our workers from? So I mean, then that's the issue of having to pay a lot more to get them here. So I think housing is such an important thing for our economy in the future that we have to start chipping away and getting more people living here that work here.
Well, one of the things that we've been doing in Brentwood is having work sessions on senior housing. And the 1 acre density, even though it's 1 acre density, obviously we have homes that are in the OSRD zoning classification. That would mean some of the lots are less than a third of an acre even, but that doesn't necessarily lend itself to seniors, because a third of an acre can still have a very big house on it. And the developers and the home builders want to maximize that land, and the price of land in Brentwood is very high, and so they want to get the most out of it. And there's no criticism at all for business people to make as much as they can on a project. But in the same breath, we have a lot of seniors that are moving out because they don't want the big yards or the big homes, or the homes are not senior friendly. They, if the master bedroom is not downstairs, or some of the hills and the landscape that we have in Brentwood is hard to build a house without a set of steps to the main floor. And so we're really trying to work on what would be best, hopefully, to be able to keep the seniors, people who have helped build our community, people who have given their lives to be in Brentwood that want to now downsize, to be able to give them the type housing that would afford them the luxury of staying in the community that they help build close to their church and home. So that's what we've been working on.
Elizabeth, do you have a question from the audience?
Yes, I think there's been a good discussion here about funding, and I have a great deal of respect and gratitude for the current and all the past leaders of Williamson County and the various communities. We moved here 17 years ago to the county outside of Franklin, and at that time I began reading about the planned completion of Mac Hatcher Parkway, this critically important road. And I've been reading about it for 17 years, and every year it gets more and more desperate. And somewhere along the line, somebody decided that the state should pay for it, which is maybe a good decision, but the state seems to have dozens or hundreds of high-priority projects from all over the state. And so Mac Hatcher Parkway remains half completed. And is it time to revisit that? If something is really important, should we be putting it up to somebody who has dozens of things that are more important in their view?
Ken, I guess that one's yours.
If you're asking, would we fund Mac Hatcher so we could get it built, we've got a substantial investment in Mac Hatcher already, somewhere around $7.5 million we've put in. It's, as far as I know, it's shovel ready right now, and it's waiting on funding from the state. I don't think the state is, they're not in the toll road business, they're not in the bonding business. We could certainly consider doing it, but the pushback has always been, would we be reimbursed? And I don't think anybody's going to make that commitment if we build it to reimburse it. I'm hopeful that the General Assembly will get on to sustainable funding for transportation. I'm a little discouraged that they've said they won't consider it this year. There's always a crisis every single year that's going to be a distraction from doing some of the things we need to do. So continue to encourage your legislator to look at it.
Great. All right, thank you so much. We promise we try to start on time and we want to end on time as well. Again, we want to thank all these mayors who've come here today. Let's give them a round of applause for making the effort to be here. Thank you so much. This is the first Breakfast with the Mayors in 2016. The remaining dates in 2016 are April 26th and July 26th and October 25th, if you want to put those on your calendar. We, again, cannot thank Elizabeth Mefford and Shauna Jackson and their committee for the hard work they put into it, as well as our presenting sponsor, Pinnacle Financial Partners. You'll be getting a survey today or tomorrow to ask you for some input and some follow-up questions to this. But again, thank you to Mayor Ken Moore and Mayor Rogers Anderson for sharing the stage this morning. And thank you for being here for Franklin tomorrow's Breakfast with the Mayors. Have a great day.